Let me get caption. Share. Okay, so we are going to do Lab 6, which will be performing on Kali Linux. It seems long, but it's not too long. So just like before, I forgot to include the part A to download Kali, but you don't need an external hard drive. You can simply, when you go through the lab at the beginning, it gives you this link. You can control click it, and as some of you already started downloading this, so go to virtual machine on the right, click recommended, and you would download the VirtualBox 64, not the weekly, the full, and you would click to download. Make sure that we save to the downloads folder, which I have right here. And then once your download is completed, go to downloads folder, right click, share more options, 7-zip, and extract files. Once it's extracted, you can double click this folder that is extracted and then open its subfolder and double click the blue file or Kali VBox file. You can also open up VirtualBox and then click add and add the machine. So I suggest for all the security stuff, when you're using virtual machine, try to give it more RAM and processor down the line. That's going to help with the scanning process because virtual machine use a lot of the RAM resources. But for this one, we're just going to install TOR and things. Okay. So now let's talk about TOR. TOR stands for the Onion Router. TOR. You often hear people refer to TOR. This is a good way for us to browse the web anonymously. As you already know that things are tracked, right? Your web activity or your search results are tracked. This was created by the Navy and eventually provided as an open source tool for more privacy. But Tor network is very private because it is a way to pass your information without tracing. Okay. So here you can say that your identity is encrypted with your traffic. And they would use things. So in the Tor network, you would have these relay system. And the system that are using as relay, it doesn't really know where the traffic is coming from. Basically, it simply is just worry about when that traffic gets there. Now, you can install this on your own system to use. This is also a way for the attacker to search or access things without having to be traced. So if we can use it to keep private, so is the attacker. So here you can simply go visit the website that would end with .onion. So when we visit website, we normally would go to the .com, .org, .edu, etc. Tor is really made for a specific type of website, right? You often hear, oh, see the dark web. What is it? It's really just a server that's hosted with a different extension. So there are websites that Tor is really intended for using and something like a .onion. Okay. It's just hosted differently with a different domain root. And so this is using a VPN would also give your traffic more privacy, but using a browser like this will definitely give you encrypted traffic. Okay. Now, as you take a look at the diagram here, you would see at the beginning, when you submit the URL, something.onion, right? It's going to go into the entry node. And this system is going to then forward to the middle node and eventually would serve you the site by reaching the destination or the web server that would give you that information. In between, these entities don't really see one another. You can't trace the traffic in between. Okay. Now, when it gets to the website, here is when it is unencrypted. So it would only decrypt when it gets here. So the exit node is the only one that could see which website you're trying to access. In between, there's no traffic information or everything is encrypted. So you can install Tor on almost all Linux versions, and this is for Kali, so it's Debian based. Okay. Bless you. So once we extracted and boot Kali, we would log into Kali, K-A-L-I, username, and the same password. And just like any software tools, we would start with an update. So we would do a sudo apt update. If it's prompted for password, just type in the password. So after it finishes the update, I would proceed to step number 8. And this is where I would install Tor, T-O-R. Sudo apt install TOR. And you can put -y for yes, so that way you don't have to press yes later, or you can leave that empty and then press Y later. Any question? Okay, so once the Tor packages had downloaded and installed, because it's using encryption, you want to have the key. So if you want, you can update it again. I normally suggest update here because there's a reason why I put it twice, but it shouldn't take very long. Then we're gonna use GPG. This is used for, key generation for encryption because it's encrypting traffic. So what we're going to do is we are going to get the signing key for our browser. And in order to do that, you would issue the auto locate or key locate command. And it's going to be for your Tor browser right here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. You can paste it into your terminal. And it tells you the key information right here, right? And the UID, we are going to create a user account down the line. So once you have the signing key that you have located, we're going to go ahead and get that file. So it's going to output the file and we're going to save it. And we're going to export it into this location of our storage. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. And you can copy and paste that because sometimes typing it all out can be very lengthy. But if you wish, you can type, just make sure we have the right syntax. And then if you want, you can update it again. So I simply can up arrow key a few times to run the update. Then what you're going to do is, since we downloaded the TOR package, we need to have a browser to go with it. So you are going to use the TOR browser launcher because this is how we're going to interface with TOR, is through the browsers, like you're using Chrome or Edge or Firefox. So we're going to go ahead and pull this package and install that, right? And it's going to say yes or no. We're going to say yes. So we're going to install the launcher. And you can install this on Raspberry Pi. It's a Debian-based embedded Linux system. You can install it on your virtual machine. You can install it on Ubuntu. Very similar process, almost the same. So what we're going to do is, after you install the Tor browser, you are going to make a user. We spent a little bit of time on this before. We're going to do an add user command. And what you're going to do is you're going to put this user, because it's going to create the directory inside these directories. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a user called Tor user. And we're going to give it a password. And on here, it tells you to write onion for the password. Remember, the cursor doesn't move. And then confirm it. Just type. And when it asks for full name and everything, just press enter until you reach the end. And it says, is this information correct? Press yes. Okay. So press enter. You can put in Tor user if you want, and then just keep pressing enter. I just left that blank, but I did put in the passwords. Trouser. Sorry about my Microsoft Word changing Tor user to trouser. All right. So once we're finished with creating the Tor user account, we're going to get Xhost. And this is going to add the access. We're going to add the access for the Tor user for Xhost. Okay. So you're going to do sudo Xhost, and you're going to add in the Tor user account and its group. Okay, so simply added that to the control list. So we know how to add the user to the control list of that application. Then now what we're going to do is we are going to execute the application, the Tor browser launcher, through that user account. Remember, we signed in as Callie. And if you want to execute something as another user, you can do a sudo u and the user account information and then the application and its switch. So we're going to go ahead and run that. So this might take a little bit of time for it to And if connection timeout, totally understandable. Okay, it also depends on your network and if there's anything that's blocking it. Sometime in a business network like this, they don't want you to pass encrypted traffic from a certain area, like the student side. They want to monitor everything. So don't be surprised, right? If it gets disconnected or it's timeout, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and, but if you do this at home without any kind of blocking mechanism, you should be able to connect. So it established a connection and it uses DuckDuckGo. I'm pretty sure some of you are familiar with it. That will be like, it's equipped with Raspberry Pi, but you probably hear advertisement. He has his hand up first, so I'll Gabriel, because he had his hand up and then. What's up?
So I'm stuck here, this one.
Press,
Press out.
so it says try again. It says that adding the user, TOR user, it already added the password authentication token manipulated manipulation here. So you have typed the password wrong. So yeah, press yes and press enter. Yeah, type in the password.
Which is this one up here?
Yeah, just type, don't look at the cursor. The more you look at the cursor, the more it's gonna be. Just type, as long as you type it correct, it'll let you in. But yeah, but they don't let you see that. They like to. So, now. other questions? Okay, so as you can see, right, once I have my browser running, so how do I know what's .onion out there, right? You can find forum and things like Reddit. There are Reddit threads that people use to share the onion domains. There are social media type of server that very similar to like Facebook, Instagram on the darker web. But here you would be able to use the search engine and then you can use it to access now.onion. So now you know how to do Tor browser. Okay. And then paste it onto the document. So once you successfully have the Tor browser launcher, add the screen capture. So I know you did it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to install a la carte, which is another application that you can use with the browser. So come back to here and then we'll just do install of a la carte. Password, put that in. Yes. And to run it CLI, once it's installed, you just use a la carte as a command to call it, right? So to run it, to open up the application in the terminal, you just call on it. So I can say a la carte. Sometimes you need to be sudo. Oh, I typed that one. Let me try it. Yeah, there we go. So what that does is it's gonna let you, it opens up a way that you can customize. So what does this do? Well, I can add my browser application in here. This is a way that you can customize your menu on Debian Linux is through a la carte. A la carte just means that you pick and choose your you know, can't think of it like food item, right? But our application. So we can add it in however you want. So you can have a new menu. See how they have the menu for different type of security tool? Well, you can customize your Linux virtual machine and use this to make your own menu. Like for example, if I want a menu that would do denial of service attack, I will just have a la carte and add the menu and add all the tools that are installed on here. Okay. So it tells you to click on the usual application. You can expand it. And then if you click under internet, you would see your Tor browser there, right? So then once you're here, you're going to click a new item. And then you can enter Tor browser into the names field. Since it's already added for me here automatically, I can tie it to another menu, but here, you know, I just rename it this way. So if you want, you can do that. But, you know, so this is a way that you can customize your menu. Okay. So you don't have to do this step because notice that it's already here and it's already here for the settings. But you can definitely add in another application under this list. So now coming back here. We're going to go ahead and run. We're going to go ahead and run the Tor browser launcher with, we're going to pass this percentage symbol with the U. And it's going to tell you the warning. It says permission denied. because it could not use the socket. So in this, we were trying to access the Tor browser launcher and run it, but it tells you that you're not able to do that because I'm trying to run it as a Tor user where I don't have the permission to access and connect at a certain socket. Okay. Perhaps under a different user type, under a different group membership. So in the next part, what we're going to do is we're going to do a Tor ghost. So Tor ghost, this is a way that we can redirect internet traffic to a certain area of the network, like the proxy. And for all the DNS requests, so whenever that you visit like so-and-so.com, you actually, the resolving system for the name to IP address is the DNS. So it must submit some form of request when you're accessing content for your web server. Web server just give you the pages. DNS resolve how your URL is translated to public IP address for web server. And this allows us to protect, right, requests from being leaked or DNS leak. Okay. So here are the benefits of using Ghost, and it's mostly for leak protection for the DNS. And you can have it start or stop or switch. So the first thing that we're going to do for this is we are going to make sure that we have all the build essential for the source code to work. And if it asks you yes or no, just type Y to install. So we can build this application. And then we're going to obtain the repository from Tor ghost from Git. And that should come down smoothly here. I'm going to go ahead and close my Tor browser there. We finished with that part. And once I have cloned the repository, I'm going to go ahead and access its folder or directory by doing a CD. Now I'm inside its directory. On the next part, I'm going to go ahead and change the permission so that way it can execute the build for the application. We need to run shell at this part. Okay, so we had changed the permission for the build, and then now we're going to build it. Now, not all Python application for security has this mechanism. Some of them you will have to run the Python script manually. If it has to build, this is how you would add the permission and execute from shell for the build to run the program. Okay. So after we build the components for the Tor ghost, you're going to use pip3, which is a Python-based command. Okay. And pip allows you to bring in additional modules or packages that work with Python. So in this case, we're going to pull in the request library. So when the application requires that library, you have to install that library on your system. Otherwise, it will throw an error. All right. Up arrow key. So it says that it's up and running, okay? So that means that you already have it open and it can't be open again. That's fine, move on to the next step, which is where, go back to your laptop. So you need to install a la carte, so sudo app install a la carte. This is just to customize your application. Done, and then now, next. That's. Just read the instruction before you close.
Quick question on this one. Do I have to enter it in here with everything?
Yes, just like what we've done previously. All the commands in bold needs to be entered. And follow each step carefully. We don't have to do all the commands all the time. We need to issue the command, I should say, but some steps doesn't have commands.
So they are not like, these commands here, they're not like the other ones that are.
It's the same. Yeah, very similar. You can copy and paste them in. Just look at the instruction for each step. Okay, so once we had installed the library for Python program to work, because remember, TOR is written in Python, we're gonna go ahead and run it through a Python 3 command. Okay. And this is the program file, and we're gonna start TOR with it. We're gonna go ahead and paste the selection, and it's gonna run. So as it runs, oh, I think I did not do the pip. Did I get the pip? Probably not. It still got it though. It shows the current IP, but let me get the request. I've skipped that step. So whenever that you run scripting for web services or any kind of server that have requests, you can install this package for Python. It's already satisfied. So now we're gonna do Torgos. And so it's gonna establish the rules. So it walks you through each step and then it shows the IP address. So you notice that it's different every single time. If you run it again, notice that this is 192.42.116.203. If I run it again, even though it's to the same destination, it should give me a different IP. See that? Okay. So your relays are different every single time. So take a screenshot, note the current IP address, and you can try it multiple times. You would see that it's not the same IP address. Then what we're going to do is we are going to do a switch option with switch. So we're going to go ahead and change the IP address or look at the change in the IP address for Torgos. So if you want to force it to use a different relay, it can. And you would use the switch. So if I'm going down this path, now I'm forcing it to use another system with a different IP. So you can do that. So you notice that now I force it to be a different IP. Okay. It's supposed to give you different ones each time, but if it doesn't, you can force it by using the switch. Switch. And then when you look, so put down if the IP address is different and mine did, to show that this is different than the last one. Using the switch command or the switch option with the command. And we would visit this website and you would see that your IP address, your public IP information, is it gonna match this, right? That's the key. Is it gonna match the current IP, or is it masked to that? So TOR Ghost, is it doing its job? So go here on Firefox. You have to use your machine and then visit the site and press enter. So here it's going to tell you what is your public IP. And it might take a little bit of time to give you that. So once you have that information, you should be able to answer question 41. Is it the same or different with the previous output for the IP address? Any question? Get stuck on anything? So this teaches you how to use Tor Ghost to enhance privacy with Tor browser launcher using Tor. These things go together, right? And you need to install the packages and its required components. So on the next part, we're gonna do a search exploit. This is a tool that you can search directly in command line, and it would use exploit database archive to serve you the detail. So how can I find exploit quickly, right? My ethical hacking class will tell you to go to exploit databases. There are websites that you can visit, but Kali already has this tool. And so you simply just call on search exploit. Let me double check to see. This process might be a little slow depending on if they're filtering connection. So, go here. And we're gonna do number 8. And search exploit is there, so open it up. And it's gonna come up as another command line terminal window. And you can simply execute the command and search for Windows, because I know that Windows OS might have vulnerability. So there we go, right? Just like how you look at Microsoft CVEs earlier, you do have things that are provided through the exploit database, right? That is related to Windows. There are different versions, of course, and you can, type the command to download, but this is the list. So it teaches you how to use this to search to exploit database from Kali Linux. Take a screenshot. And then the next tool I want to introduce you to, I hope they didn't delete this tool, is DNS enum, which is the enumeration for DNS. I think it should still be here. And you can simply put in your target system, right? So what does this give you? It gives you some host address information, the public IP, Sometimes if they don't block it, it would show you all the records that's related to that DNS servers, including NS records or sometime the A records or whatnot, right? DNS enum is included with Kali, so if you're using another version of Linux, you have to install it. So if you can't find the A record, so here's my A record. And my A record contained the URL and its associated IP version 4 addresses, right? So here it is. It says in A, that's in the A record. So the DNS, it's the first thing, the first record that it needs is to associate the domain name to the public IP, and that's through the A record. If you want to associate IP to the domain name in reverse, right, it would be a reverse record. So there is record, basically files that the system, the server use it for reference on how it would refer itself and how it would refer to the domain. Okay. You can use this to find other records if it's available. Entity like Facebook or Meta, Google and things like that, sometimes they block this, so you can't enumerate, right? And we don't just go out there and enumerate people, right? This is just for educational purposes, but you would ask for permission to enumerate their system because the firewall would see. Okay. So if you want to test, best idea is to set up your own server and test it. Okay, so DNS map is another tool, and I mostly focus on domain type of tools in this one and also browser-based things. So because there are a lot of these servers type out there, instead of targeting individual system. So another way that you can use these type of tools, you can use DNS, and this to help, you know, people contact information that is related to this domain. So for example, if so-and-so is from LinkedIn and they work at a certain organization like Nike.com and they have added, there is tool that you can only look at social media, but they might have used like, for example, Jane Doe at Nike.com, it will find that. So DNS map is basically associating one DNS to another because maybe I'm on LinkedIn, that's another DNS with the server, right, web server. And then it's associated with my company that could be Nike.com, right? So you can use this for enumeration and it's a really good tool to kind of do information gathering. A lot of the tools we use is scanning purposes is to do our homework, right? So discover target IP addresses, domain name, possibly phone number. So in case you need to use it for phishing purposes or vishing. And then you can also use brute force enumeration feature to be able to go through the zone transfer because DNS might connect to its subdomain. So for zone transfer purposes. So there are some example and information that you can use. So we're gonna do a DNS map. Now, depending on the domain, sometimes this process can take a while. If they're blocking and if you have a lot of security system preventing your result to come back to your system, and whenever that you use these tools, any enumeration tool is a non-passive, an active tool, meaning that when you scan, they see you, okay? Things that are passive like Wireshark, you can basically be a wallflower. They might not detect you right away. Sometimes they can use a scanner to scan a scanner, but a lot of the times those are passive tools it doesn't call home. It doesn't tell the other system who's asking. When you enumerate, likely that it needs to respond back to your request. So you will not be stealthy. Okay. So there are times that we need to be stealth and there are times that we don't. So in the case of pen testing, sometimes you want to go undetected and go under the radar, and intrusion detection system should not see you. Then we use the stealthy tool. A lot of the tools in security are not. They are active tools. So like I said before, if you know more about the network and the system, you can pick the type of tools that you would use first and then the tools that you use later. If I only have the 10 minutes window or an hour to get as much data as I can to see how far I can get in the network as a pen tester, I would probably use the active working tool that I know that works in that 10-minute window or that hour window. Understand the scanning part, we can take our time and do our analysis and research.
I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah, so sometimes it doesn't work, it doesn't respond, so that's okay. You're at, huh? For which one?
Press the Y.
For the DNS map? To delete is RM. Yeah, so sudo RM and then the application name. So sometime if you get stuck like this, that's okay, right? Take a screenshot of this. I wanted you to see, if you pick another target, you can try nmap.org and see if it's gonna respond, but you know, it could be in between, sometime coming back here, it's not letting some of the traffic through too. But MVC should also open most of the stuff. But anyway, if you can't find any information and if you waited a bit, you can just put, you know, no result. And then, like I said before, right, security tools take time and you have to be patient with it. It's not going to be a split second or sometime minutes. Sometimes you have to let it go. It really depends on how this domain is responding. And remember that when we are mapping or when we're requesting things from the server, sometimes there are security appliances that are blocking you. So, or redirecting you, right? Okay, then we can do the DNS tracer. And so Control C. You want to install, press yes. And once it's installed, you would execute the same command again. Up arrow key to repeat the step 50 after you install it, and then run it again. So remember, the first time you run it, it says, oh, I don't have the application file to help you run it. So after we install the application files, then we are going to run it. And it should trace. I got traffic back. So it tells me that it had 3 retries. How many tries did the information receive? It tells you that right here in the output. Now, I highlighted the last section. We'll get to it and we'll talk why I made it optional, right? But for after you would do DNS tracer, so you had used map, enumerator, and tracer for DNS. On the next one, this is a load balancer detector. This is good when you are looking at traffic load balance. So think of load balance is kind of like putting a bunch of detours onto a very congested road. It is a way that we can diversify the traffic and prioritize the traffic for quality of services. Some company, most of the time, company would use an appliance or a feature on an appliance called the load balancer. We know that HTTP or web traffic is heavy. You might have, for example, millions of users logging in at 8 a.m. in the morning somewhere in the world, right? Or sometime less. So it would balance based on the demand of your traffic. Just like how if you think about, sometimes we would have toll road opens up when it is heavy traffic time on 215 freeway, right? Same process, same concept is to open up these toll roads and detours so that way people can get to their destination quicker. So a good way that we can do this is to detect the load balancer. Why is that important? Because we can use it to reverse proxy. All the proxy is the middleman in between. Proxy can be used to monitor traffic. It can be used to pass traffic, like the traffic cops, go this way, go that way quicker, distribute traffic. So if we reverse proxy, we would see more of the traffic. So from an attacker standpoint, detecting the load balancer is helpful because I would then know which system has the load balancer and I would focus on that system to get more information. You understand? So from a pen tester standpoint, that's also important. So we can do an LDB, load balancer detector. So you just put in your target, right? And this is, I should have exited out of the thing, but this is already equipped with Kali. Now you notice that it's checking for DNS load balancer. It's not able to find it. Is it accurate? Maybe, maybe not, right? We give it a shot. Our result might not be all accurate, but it might be good enough so that way we can proceed to the next step in the phases of attack, right? So I always recommend in forensic and pen testing, you always verify your result by using the same type of tool. Different tool, but same type. So there we go. Microsoft is like, all of a sudden I have a flood of traffic coming from RCCD IP. So take a screenshot and then it tells you the type of load balancer, timestamp here. If it has it, it would list it, or if it's able to find it, it would list it. Any question? Okay, so let's talk about the optional exercise. You can use OSINT, which is for intelligence, open source intelligence. Remember at the beginning of class, we talked about OSINT, open source intelligence. And so whenever that you see OSINT next to the tool name or part of the tool is because it's for open source intelligence. That means that find public information, right, or from public domain. So this is a way that we can do OSINTogram, is to go through Instagram and collect the data. Now you can go through the steps, pull the Git repository, access its folder, run the Python tool, install the requirement, go through the configuration, edit the configuration, but you need a legitimate Instagram account, right?
For that, you use the link or you have to add the.
Your username. Yeah, the handler, yeah. So whatever the username or the known account is, because it's only gonna look into Instagram. How accurate is this tool? It's as accurate as its developer, right? Sometimes you get results, sometimes you don't. It really depends on how private that data is. So if the account is very private, you might not be able to find it. Okay? If the account is somewhat available, that public information is shared. So basically it combs through the Instagram and be able to find their posts and things like that. So you're gonna plug in the configuration file, you need to put in the Instagram account information. Then you are going to add the password of that account. So if you want to test it with your own account, you can, but just keep in mind, right? My disclaimer would be the liability that's involved is going to be with Meta or Facebook, Instagram. If they do see that you are jeopardizing their system, they can come after you. So this is why this account, but you just need to know the liability behind it, right? Will they come after you? Not necessarily, because if you don't impose any threat, if you're just looking into your account and that's your personal account and you have valid reason to do so, then you can back up your case, okay? So once you update the configuration with your password, with your settings, right? And then run the Python file, then you would do the pull for the the directory. And I had put on top here, if you look at their documentation, it gets what? The registered address for the photos, right? Or city location information, any kind of captions or comments that they post related to that account. So if there is latest thread in the post, followers information or followings, followers email addresses, and then their contact information, and then anything that's hashtag related to this. So is this useful for forensic? You betcha, right? All the murder cases that you see that people posted on, not that they would access the account or ask permission to access that account. You might have to use these tools to go through and see who posts what at what time, which geolocation. But from an attacker standpoint or a pen tester standpoint, is this useful? Yeah, if you're trying to find information on your target, an individual or a group of individuals, because that person might belong to a larger group or they would post resources. There are endless amount of tools that you can play with, right? Callie has a good group. So as you can see in here, I sometimes bring in external tool because, you can also refer to document. I've shown Medusa before, Hydra before, Hashcat before. So throughout different classes, you would see also different tools, and then you can use a la carte to add to your tool set, the ones that are not in Kali, right? Okay, so here I got some information on load balancing. It found it, right? And there is the CV information that we talked about before. And voila. Any question?